Okay, I think. Okay, I think we got it. Although I do need
I hear some
to.
echo.
Yeah, you got a little echo because I accidentally had Twitch up here. Had sound on it to make sure that we don't have anything else. But yeah, we're good now, I believe. So how's it going? How was your weekend?
Doing good.
How was Sunday? How was
Well, I got to enjoy some of the warmer weather in Tennessee Saturday, so
the warmer weather
that
in
was good.
Tennessee? So when you cross the border, how far away is it?
Oh, we're 3.5 hours from Oak Ridge, Knoxville.
I didn't ask how close. I mean, you're in Virginia, right? Like how close to the border?
I am in Virginia. I am, well, I'm really close to the West Virginia border, about a
Got you.
mile and a half from the West Virginia border.
Okay, but how far to the
If we
Tennessee
look at,
border?
it takes me 77 plus 45 is, it's about
2 hours.
100 miles,
Okay,
a little over 100 miles.
100 miles. So
But it's not
hour,
straight
hour
because
and a
it's
half.
70 miles up 80, 77 miles up 81, and then it's another 45 minutes from there off of 81.
Okay. Well, nothing exciting in the Bluefield world. And no.
Uh, Not a lot going on these days. That's all right. Holy Week starting. I mean, Ash Wednesday starts this week, so I'll be more
Right.
busy.
You're about to get crushed, huh? We talked about this one time. What is busier for you? You said Christmas was busier, but like you said Christmas was Super Bowl, but Holy Week is
Holy Week is the busiest because it's usually something every day, and then there's Thursday and Good Friday. The before is Maundy Thursday or Holy Thursday.
okay.
So there's a lot more worship stuff to be done.
Cool.
And then you still have your other stuff to do.
Um, well, today I'm glad that you've
And
given
working
us.
with musicians.
That's right, the musicians. Work with the musicians, Billy. So I'm glad you've given us some time for this. We were talking earlier on the phone about talking about Christian nationalism, and
Yeah.
I know this first week I don't want to do this every week, but this is what's kind of going to be the thing while I kind of guide the content for a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
just going to give you some content creators that I kind of watch from a little bit. This is Christy Burke. She her story is a couple years ago. She's a pretty new YouTuber actually. Only has like 100,000. Only has 100,000 subscribers. But she came out with her deconstruction story, I guess, some to be completely transparent about what she is. I mean, she's of the atheist side of this thing now, but she's now
Hmm.
the guy we watched the week before. He's like born, never had it, right? And she's one of those deconstructioners that would be more like myself, right? Um, which I think led her down this path of like just like looking at the history of it all, right? And you and I were talking earlier about how you, even back when I was a youth in your youth group, you were anti-Christian nationalism, and
Yeah. When I was in seminary, that's when that happened. I was seeing uh, flags in churches, sanctuaries, and stuff, and this connection to. I was calling it American civil religion, but American civil religion really is the the idea that we're using things like flags as our holy symbols, and the hymns are God bless America and America
mhm,
the Beautiful and all of that kind of. There's really kind of a civil religion that exists that has nothing to do with God. It just has to do with loving your country and that. But
right,
what I was talking about back then, the idea that there's this thing of merging and melding civil religion and the Christian faith and the Christian religion in
hmm
particular. So we sing the national anthem, or we sing America the Beautiful in worship to God on Sunday morning. And it always seemed to me like we were doing something that was damaging both,
Does this
minimizing both.
does this fall in like to the blasphemous realm? If you were to, I mean, I wouldn't think it'd be blasphemous, right? Or would it? Would it?
Well, some folks in my churches would tell you that it's blasphemous to take the flags out of the sanctuary,
That's interesting.
and they will defend it like nothing else that I have ever done. They will be angry. They will get very upset. They will get very antagonistic, and they don't want to hear it. There's no chance to have a conversation about why I would do such a thing, or what why it's not good for the religion itself or our faith.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna turn. I just realized I wanted to turn this off. Hold on one second. Boom. That way we can see the chat. Sorry, I got distracted by technology. Well, back on the train here. So this girl. I don't. Man, I'm an ass. This woman.
You are.
I'm an ass. I'm sorry, folks. It still comes out, and I apologize right off. This nice lady.
It just means you're getting older.
It does mean I'm getting old, doesn't it? But I think she's probably more in my age group. I don't know. I'm ass, right?
He's younger than you.
Yeah. I would like to think so, but still not girl. Yeah. Sorry about that, Christy. If you ever watch this, she probably won't, but she's not girl for sure. Not girl. This lady. We're gonna watch her stuff. All right. And it's gonna kind of like go down this. Now it's a 3-part thing. I originally started watching the third video, which I found actually probably more interesting to what we're kind of talking about today. But I felt like it was probably only appropriate to give her the full floor, and do the full 3. So this is kind of going to be
Okay.
I might even call this a little bit more boring in the way that it might be more
Historical.
well, it's all historical, even the third part, but this is more like, Thomas Jefferson historical, as opposed to, I don't know.
When we were around.
Yeah, the 80s. I mean, but even then, like, just the rise of, like, Christian Reconstructionism and stuff like that, right? In terms of, like, what we're doing with, like, policy and how the Southern strategy came about, merged, and,
Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
So this has nothing to do with that, right? I mean, it does have.
Yeah.
It's the historical part of it, right? So let's just give it a try, and we'll see what people think about it, and see what you think about it.
Hello, welcome back to my series, a deep dive on Christian nationalism. In our last episode, we defined Christian nationalism and kind of set the tone for this series. So if you haven't seen that video, I recommend watching that before you watch this one, or you can just Google the definition of Christian nationalism and find out for yourself. Today, we're going to be diving into the earliest foundations of Christian nationalism, or the belief of Christian nationalism, which is that the founding fathers intended to create a nation based on Christian principles and ideologies.
Those who deny that America is a Christian nation have either failed history or have sat in classes where God and the Bible have been redacted and censored from history books that have been rewritten by godless and liberal academia with a political agenda.
Is it true that the founding fathers intended for us to be a Christian nation? Or is it a lie made up by those that wish for it to be a Christian nation? You might even already have an answer to this question or an opinion on it. I think that my answer might surprise you because, spoiler alert, I think it's a mix of 2 answers. I think it's yes and no. But I'm going to share the information that I've learned, and you can decide for yourself at the end of it. The United States was founded on principles of liberty, self-governance, and the belief that all men are entitled to certain unalienable rights. Sort of. Sort of. the founding fathers kind of operated within a framework of cognitive dissonance, where they had this very ambitious idea of self-governance and life and liberty, but it wasn't for all people. And when they say all men, they really did just mean white land-owning men.
Yeah.
Land.
Right. So, here's the thing about that. And I think that we should give a minor concession for being a product of your time. But like
I agree with that.
but these folks, as she said, cognitive dissonance, like slaveholders writing about beautiful words about not having slavery. You know what I mean? We'll talk more about those folks later, in this video, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but there were certainly in the writing tradition, there were folks that were involved in that process of that whole thing that didn't agree with that idea, but there were concessions made, so the South would accept things and then would accept things, and
Sure.
a lot of compromises made.
But nonetheless, I don't think it changes. I mean, you and I both, while we can look back at, we talked about it last week, slavery in the Bible, a little bit. We approached it. It's there. And we could talk about being a product of its time, but like it is probably in every, there isn't a kind slavery, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
there's nothing, they treated them or their slaves well.
Yeah. So product of your time is one thing, but like there's a human component to this. And I get that a lot of folks were not enlightened, obviously, in the biblical times, but like at this point we had gotten to the Enlightenment, right? We were writing these words, but I mean, it does take time to take change, So anyway, moving on.
John Wesley said American slavery was the vilest that ever saw them.
Yeah. All right, here we go. See what she says.
Because women, slaves, indigenous populations, these were all excluded from their proclamation that we all deserve to be happy and free. And in the same letter that they refer to all men as being made equal, they also referred to Native Americans. Yeah.
So again, I'm glad that she's saying all this. Like she's very clear at, this, like these are the words that are being said, but not necessarily done. Right.
Right.
Americans as savages. And I want it to be known that I'm not going to be making any moral judgments on the founding fathers. They are products of their time, but it's important that we understand that they are products of their time.
You can make a little moral judgment, in my opinion.
It's a good thing we have progressed so much that we no longer only see a certain group of people as having these inherent rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So let's start with the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men, all white land-owning men, are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. We've got rights. We want to be happy and free. And that if any time our government that we have instituted does not allow for the protection of these rights, that it is the right of the people to overthrow it and to institute a new government that does protect these rights. Next up, we have the Constitution, which is the cornerstone of American governance. But did you know that the Constitution is godless?
Godless thought, a godless culture, a godless and liberal academia.
I know when we say that word godless, it's very emotionally charged. I have been called a godless heathen, a godless atheist so many times, and it is a way to kind of point fingers to attack. But the truth is, the Constitution itself is completely godless. It does not have a mention of God or Jesus or Christianity in it whatsoever. And in fact, the First Amendment explicitly forbids Congress from adopting any laws that establish a religion. And it doesn't stop there, because the Constitution's Article 6, Clause 3 goes even further by ensuring no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So I think that means
At
that
least not
from its
legally.
inception,
Yeah.
the U.S. government was designed to remain very neutral on matters of religion and not to establish it or to intertwine it with the politics. And if the founding fathers did not explicitly intend to draw from Christian principles and to institute a Christian government, where did they get their ideas from? The Age of Enlightenment, which was also known as the Age of Reason, was an intellectual and political movement within the 17th and 18th century in Europe. Now, according to Wikipedia, the Enlightenment featured a range of social ideas centered on the value of knowledge learned by way of rationalism and empiricism, and political ideas such as natural law, liberty, progress, toleration, and fraternity, as well as constitutional government and the formal separation of church and state. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? And while the Enlightenment wasn't inherently godless, it relied more heavily on human reason and intellect. Ron Chernow, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is a Pulitzer-winning prize biographer.
I did look it up. It is correct.
He wrote a book called Washington, A Life, about Washington. And he said in it, some of Washington's religious style probably reflected an Enlightenment discomfort with religious dogma. George and Martha Washington attended an Episcopalian church, and the presiding bishop over that church, William White, once wrote a letter, and in it he stated, "I do not believe that any degree of recollection will bring to mind any fact which would prove General Washington to have been a believer in the Christian revelation." Now, for the sake of transparency, when I was doing my research, I really wanted to see the original letter and get my eyes on it. I originally got this information from page 28 of The Founding Myth, Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American by Andrew Seidel. I Googled the quote, but I only found other websites that were reporting the same information. So I went back to The Founding Myth, and his reference notes took me to the memoir of the life of the Right Reverend William White. And there it was, right there in the book. But I still can't put my eyes on the letter, which is really frustrating. So I think it's an important lesson in source checking, understanding that sometimes we do just have to take the word of a biographer or a reporter. And I think healthy doses of skepticism are necessary to get to the truth. And it just really serves as a reminder that sometimes finding the truth takes a lot of time and effort. It's also been claimed that on his deathbed, Washington did not even ask for a priest or any religious rituals, that he actually refused any kind of religion at his bedside. And and another thing I forgot to add is that he also used to refuse communion. So he never took communion in church either, which I think is really interesting. Now, next we have James Madison, who is often called the father of the
I didn't know that.
Constitution.
Yeah.
In 1811, he vetoed a bill that proposed granting land to
I know a
Baptist
couple of other
churches in
presidents
North
who never
Carolina
have
for
either.
charitable purposes.
Say again, Billy.
I know a couple of other presidents who never have either. Before the current one, the president who attended worship less than any other was Ronald Reagan. He served 8 years.
So
And-
Ronald Reagan was not a communion taker
He didn't attend church.
at all.
He-
I
he
don't know
went a
anything
few
about Ronald
times while he
Reagan's
was
religious. I would assume that Reagan was, he was kind of associated with the rise of the religious
was.
right.
He was aligned very much with it, but he never attended worship. He didn't go to church. He wasn't for
Interesting.
church.
So he didn't pander quite enough, probably, to them, ultimately. Or did
Well,
he?
yeah, I think you're right. Though he was a big part of how that movement, the Christian nationalist movement, and the religious right, the moral majority, got power was because they backed Ronald Reagan, and he did that as a way to get more people, on the Republican side. Opposing abortion was the big issue for them at the time,
Right.
and the only issue. So, yeah,
We'll
so
eventually.
focused at that point on.
Yeah. If anybody's listening or watching, we'll get to abortion eventually.
Yeah.
'Cause-
They weren't so focused on, I mean, they weren't so focused on the Christian nationalist idea of turning the country into a theocracy at that time as they were just getting rid of abortion. But there were
it
certainly
seems,
those within their ranks.
yeah, it seems now we've gotten to the theocracy part a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more later.
Purposes. He argued that it violated the principle of separation of church and state. And in his veto message, he expressed concern that even seemingly benevolent entanglements between government and religion could erode the secular foundation of the Constitution. If he did this, if he provided this land to these churches, that it could lead to favoritism or undermine religious freedom. Now, James Madison also wrote a letter that opposed a Virginia bill that would have taxed citizens to support Christian teachers. And in it, he said, religion, or the duty which we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it, can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. And in that same letter, he asked, what influence, in fact, have ecclesiastical establishments had on civil society? In some instances, they have been seen to erect a spiritual tyranny on the ruins of civil authority. In many instances, they have been seen upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen the guardians of the liberties of the people. What about the...
So yeah, that is powerful, right? And this is Madison we're talking about here, and he's let me just rewind it just a little bit. We have some interesting chat interactions here. I'm not exactly sure what the omnibars are, but he made some kind of point. Yeah, let's get back to this. So in many instances, they have been seen upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen the guardians of the liberties of the people.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing that today, where the religious right is saying, I would rather take away liberties of people.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the marriage agreement and those types of things that, someone gets the religious left and the left in general is arguing for giving people freedoms, whereas the religious right in particular is arguing against, in fact, taking away freedoms from or denying them outright beginning. So marriage equality is a good example of that.
Right.
Civil rights in the 60s is an example.
Right. Civil rights movement. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what this omnibar dude is talking about. That's kind of fun that we have some chat in here it seems like we have a crazy person. It's probably a lesson to learn not to engage with those, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see the chat.
So yeah, you're right. You don't see the chat. I've got to figure out a way to get you the chat. Yeah. So we got, while you were starving to death with your 32,000 and branded barcodes, Omnibar, I shall be eating the real bread from Jesus.
Well, that's okay.
And then he's like, you know what the Omnibar is. Jesus showed it to you in visions and dreams. Get one. Heck, get two. And then LOL. So I don't know. I'm having fun looking at the chat. Yeah, if you were to, I guess the best way for you to get the chat, I need to figure out a way to get you the full chat. You'd have to maybe tune into the stream, because I've got all the streams linked, right? So
yeah, I'm looking at Facebook and it's not.
Yeah, no, this guy's coming from YouTube. Wesley Curry II. I don't know. It's pretty funny.
I need a powerful.
Yeah, the Omnibar. Get your Omnibar, Billy.
A spiritual tyranny on the
neither.
ruins of civil authority. In many instances, they have been seen upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen the guardians of the liberties of the people. What about the Jefferson Bible?
The truth is...
Oh yeah, Do you know about? We got an ad here, so we'll just let it
Closed
go
doors,
through.
the P word.
Do
became my
you
secret sin
know
at age
about
10.
the
And for the next
Jefferson
17
Bible?
years of
Oh,
my
as we have
life,
an anti.
what I did in the incognito.
That's fine.
Did you know that Thomas Jefferson created his own Bible? He cut and pasted sections of the New
Yeah. So yeah. Did you know about
If
this?
I'm remembering correctly, he cut out the stuff that
The supernatural stuff.
there's different versions of things where people have cut out stuff, and I'm getting them all mixed up.
I would
Um,
assume that everybody has maybe a different measurement of what the supernatural is. So what he cut
Yeah.
out, I don't know. I don't know what's in it, but I did not know that he did this.
Testament. It says he removed
I'd
all
heard
references to miracles, the supernatural, and even the divinity of Jesus, focusing solely on Jesus's moral teachings. And then in a letter in 1802, he wrote to Danbury Baptist Association. He said, believing with you
up, Tim?
that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes an account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislator should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state.
And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and
Of course
it
she
means nothing
is.
like what they
Yeah.
say it does.
So here's where things get really
Bobert, she one of your favorites?
she's
She's something.
entertaining.
Yeah, she's something.
juicy.
That's a good
Benjamin
word.
Franklin once wrote a letter, unaddressed but widely assumed to be directed at Thomas Paine. Scholars believe Franklin was responding to one of Paine's writings, which was critical of religion and its role in society. In his letter, he wrote, "You yourself may find it easy to live a virtuous life without the assistance afforded by religion, but think how great a portion of mankind consists of weak and ignorant men and women, and of inexperienced, inconsiderate youth of both sexes, who have need the motives of religion to restrain them from vice, to support their virtue, and retain them in the practice of it till it becomes habitual," which is
I think it's interesting that Ben Franklin is speaking of vices.
Yes.
the great point for its security. Let's just break this down for a minute. Let's really think about what he was expressing here. Benjamin Franklin was asking Thomas Paine, presumably, to burn this book, to never allow anyone to see it, burn it, to get rid of it, and don't show anyone. And he didn't do it because he had spiritual conviction. He believed that although there was an elite group that he was a part of men who could be moral and ethical without religion, who had the personal conviction and they didn't need a religion to tell them what to do or not to do, that there were so many other weak and ignorant
It's pretty
people
insulting.
that needed religion to keep them under moral control. That is mind-blowing.
But others didn't.
Honestly, and it's deeply offensive, and I'm not even religious, to think that there was a founding father who only wanted Christianity to persist and exist within society because he didn't trust people to be moral, to restrain themselves. But I am convinced that people today in political power who actively work to perpetuate Christian nationalism within our politics and culture, I believe that those people are holding the same attitude that Benjamin Franklin once held, and they believe they are following in his footsteps, following in the footsteps of a founding father, and moving forward.
I don't know if I mean, yeah, for some of them, for Trump, for sure. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like, I think some of them are true believers. Right?
Well, sure, yeah. Yeah, I don't argue with that.
Forward in the true American way, which is to allow the elite, the rich, the wealthy, the powerful to exist.
Hold on. Hey, Jess. Yeah? The chat wants to know what's in the microwave. Linguine. We're rocking linguine. Yeah, shrimp linguine. It's good. Her mom made it. It's It's the stuff. But you have to make sure to get the lemons out because you might get a bite of lemon with your linguine. She likes to flavor it that way, so you have to go search.
Adds a little zing.
Little zing, little zest, zing.
That's right. What's the name of the
However they
YouTube
like.
channel?
The YouTube channel is Pastor and Atheist. Are you looking for the chat?
I was just looking for the channel itself, so I can't find that.
You know what, Billy? Let's see. Let's see if I can do this right.
There's just so many of them out there that have that similar.
Hold on. Here we go. There's this. And I will do the share button thing. We will copy the URL. I'm going to go to your Facebook Messenger here.
With a YouTube link. I like that.
With a Twitch link.
Oh, will I have to load that on my phone?
I don't know. I think it's just you could probably just, probably. But it'll have in that box to the side there where Tim is.
I got it.
Yeah, where he's asking us what's in the microwave, He's messing with us. All right, back to the show, guys. Sorry.
Without religion, because they're capable of coming.
Oh, maybe not back to the show.
Incrediware is the first wearable anti-inflammatory.
Boy, that
Not only
really
does it
want you to
take
watch
away
that.
the
We've got
inflammation, but when
we've
you
got to
take away
heal
the
the sick
inflammation, you
miraculously
take away
with
the pain.
Incrediware.
And that's the most important thing.
Those people are holding the same attitude that Benjamin Franklin once held, and they believe they are following in his footsteps, following in the footsteps of a founding father, and moving forward in the true American way, which is to allow the elite, the rich, the wealthy, the powerful to exist however they'd like without religion, because they're capable of coming to moral conclusions. But that those of us who are poor or weak or not educated or young, that we can't possibly come to moral conclusions without a religious book telling us to do it. And I think that attitude has persisted, and it is the attitude that remains today. And it is why Christian nationalism is being hammered into our culture and our politics by the wealthy elite who believe that people like me need this. Otherwise, we can't be moral and ethical.
I mean, historically, it's just been, religion has been abused, right? I'm not saying you, obviously, Billy. I'm saying historically, it's been a tool of manipulation in many instances.
Well, of course, Marx referred to religion as the opiate of the masses, which is oddly, that's kind of what she's describing there, is that the wealthy believe that to keep the masses under control if they kept them in religion. And of course, what the religious right are doing is saying, we're okay with that. We're okay with atheists doing whatever, because they're too busy to deal with church and like, so we're okay if they have no moral compass, but they're going to, as long as they give us what we want in the social stuff, because the billionaires, the oligarchs, the Donald Trump of the world do not think that their concern is money.
Mm-hmm.
Their concern is wealth and power.
Well, do you have any favorite scriptures on this one? I always mess with the people that are you get into it with people online. People have seen me get into it with people online, and one of my favorite thing is just to respond with the eye of the needle.
Just say eye of the needle.
Eye of the needle when they're really licking that boot. You know what I mean?
There's a strip right before that. I think I've got these together. It's the rich young ruler who comes in and says, Jesus, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And And when a lawyer asks that, it's the great commandment. But when this one comes, yeah, he asked that, Jesus says, well, you need to go sell all that you have and give it to the, because you have cheated people. And at the end of the story, it says, and the man went away sad because he had much wealth. And it doesn't say what he did. It just says he went away sad. But the assumption that most people make is he was sad because he wasn't going to inherit the kingdom of God. He wasn't going to get into heaven. He wasn't going to get what he was asking for.
Right. The reward.
And I'm going, well, the other option is that he actually said, you know what? I'm sad because I'm going to have to give up so much to get that. But then you have the rich will not, in the Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain, either one, that's where we get the eye of the needle. There's a lot of ways that particular story has been rationalized. Oh, well, the eye of the needle, I've used this myself, and I've learned since then. The eye of the needle was considered to be this gate that would go through the wall of Jerusalem, or the wall of the city, and it was small, and it was the only gate that was open at night. And so if a traveler was coming through with a camel that was loaded down, that camel could in no way fit through this gate called the eye of the needle.
Uh-huh.
And rationalize, well, it just means it's really hard.
Yeah.
And
it's not like literally a steel needle.
Right, but that's not the reality is there is no such gate that existed in the time of Christ or before that. There is a gate similar to that fits somewhere else in the world, and long after, hundreds of years after Jesus. So not even in the time of the writing of the text could that have been thought of. So it means it's impossible for us.
Right.
If we were wealthy.
Like if you're... So
it really is as harsh as it sounds.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that harsh for an atheist,
No, but it's very black and white. If you're wealthy, you can't.
Yeah.
Of course, Jesus then would say, well, all things are possible through God, basically. So it is possible only with God. But so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of bashing of wealthy people in the New Testament in particular.
Sure.
Saying you can't do the good things. In the Sermon on the Plain, he says, "Blessed are the poor, but cursed are the wealthy."
Yeah. How cursed is Elon Musk?
Wealthy as it gets, right?
400 billion curses? Is that what it is he's up to now? Oh.
I was thinking about this. I remember when DT, I don't like to say his name, when he got on David Letterman. So think how long ago
are you doing a Harry Potter with him? He shall not be named.
He who shall not be named. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We'll have
Stephen
to talk
Colbert
about,
for a while.
We'll have to talk about Rowling eventually too. I think eventually in this series.
Well, she's an enigma, isn't she?
Well, she is. But anyway, yeah.
But he was on, and I remember David Letterman asking him, "Are you a billionaire?" And that was like the big thing, the idea that he might be a billionaire. And that's not been 20 years ago. I don't think.
Wait, Letterman was asking who? Musk?
DT.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's a billionaire now.
Yeah, but he was asking him this, are you a billionaire? And I was thinking about that. I was going, and now he's like, just being a billionaire is hardly anything. And Robert Reich was talking about the idea that somebody might be a trillionaire. In our lifetime.
I mean, it feels like we're approaching this kind of direction.
Yeah, we are.
But I'm to the point when you get to these numbers that are just so big, it's like, what is money anymore?
Right. Why do you want more? Could you possibly spend all that much money on?
I have like just personal like feelings about Elon Musk, that he was just a spoiled rich kid, but was also bullied by his family and probably peers due to his autism, and it's created some kind of like, I don't know, weird achievement monster, you know?
Yeah, that may be true.
Like if I'm trying to do what we're trying to practice and put our most empathetic foot forward, right? I have very little empathy for Elon Musk, but if I'm doing what I'm asking, I'm saying I think that Elon acts like a bullied kid.
I would agree with that. I think that's,
and he's a bullied kid that bet big on a couple of investments, and he's so rich now that nobody can touch him. And I think
and he bet big on some investments that failed.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is he was born with a rich family. It is what it is. He had a head start on this. It's not because Elon Musk is particularly special. I don't think he's particularly smart. I don't think he's not smart. I think he's a smart enough person to, in the right circumstances, you make the right bets on the right things, and then you kind of build this mythos about you, and then all of a sudden you can just circumvent all ways to get into government and get into government. I don't know. He's an achievement.
Yeah.
And that whole thing.
And now he's after global dominance.
Yeah. But I mean, it's even little things, right? So like you saw the story. Are you familiar with Diablo, the video game?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter which game it is, but it's a game where you I don't know, you fight demons, and
yeah,
right, and
it's up my alley, Doom.
Yeah, that Demon Slayer stuff. This is right up your alley.
That's right.
But the thing is also, like, you can be a necromancer and stuff too, so there might be some conflict of interest there if you took that route. Anyway, point is that he bragged about being one of the top Diablo players in the world, right? Now, from a guy who's been playing video games since the Atari 2600, and you were as well, like the true ones know that if you're a pro at anything, if you're one of the best in the world at anything, including games, you almost spend all your time doing nothing else.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it was obviously most of us were like, side-eyeing when he was saying this kind of stuff, right? But then there was a video of him playing and all this other game that's similar, where he's supposedly a top player, and he didn't even know how to work the menus, and he was called out for it. So here we are. We're talking about this guy who has faked. He had people play for him while he was talking about it, so people thought he was playing. But when he was actually playing, it was a very much Milli Vanilli moment where the sound got cut off,
I still turn off the radio when Milli Vanilli comes on.
I mean, it sounds the same the way they sang it. I have thought about doing Milli Vanilli in one of my sets, Blame It on the Rain. Whoever sang it.
Yeah.
That was a banger, as the kids say.
Why didn't those guys ever get any credit?
I don't know. I mean, I guess because it was just such a scandal.
They clearly had talent that you'd think they could have gotten, oh, look, we've been discovered now.
But maybe it was just such a scandal that it was, I don't know.
Yeah, they were poison pilled.
I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and get back on track here. So I forgot where she was even at. So let's see. Whoops, I'm hitting the wrong thing.
He's frozen.
So Christianity from the beginning was not seen as a genuine spiritual practice that people could get value from. It was seen as a tool for power, dominance, and control. Now, before we fast forward a bit in the next episode, I want to briefly touch on manifest destiny a chapter in American history that I believe will set the stage for the rest of the series. Since Europeans first arrived in the late 1400s, America's story has been marked by the displacement and killing of Native American tribes, and it was justified under the guise of divine right. This belief evolved into manifest destiny, and it was this idea that white Americans were divinely chosen to expand across the continent. And it was framed as this moral mission to bring Christianity to everyone. And it led to devastating policies like the Indian Removal Act and tragedies such as the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears is a stark reminder of how manifest destiny wasn't just an ideology of expansion, it was one of domination justified by a blend of racial superiority and Christian rhetoric. It reveals how deeply entwined these narratives were in shaping policies that caused immense suffering and injustice. So you have these white Christians who believe it is their goal and their mission to spread their way of life across the entire continent.
Bye, Tim.
And to promote white Christian values. And so they just started working their way across the continent and forcing everyone else to fall in line and to kind of acclimate themselves to the white Christian way of living. Because they thought it was the best way. They thought everybody else was just not civilized.
Yes, and they wanted land. Let's not forget the motivation. That's the real part. She did put it right here in this area, right?
So yeah, I saw that. So as the Christian here and as the pastor and as the Methodist, Methodist in East Tennessee, were learning the language of the Cherokee, and they involve themselves in getting to know the very people. So one of the things we Methodists in Holston Conference in East Tennessee were really proud of, at least, is that while we weren't able to change the Trail of Tears from happening, they walked with them.
Okay.
Said, we're not going to let you be suffering alone. We're going with you.
Wow, I did not know that. Good on the Methodists. Couldn't beat Andrew Jackson. But,
no.
Yeah. They at least, helped with a terrible journey. So,
yes, I think, for me, that's the whole point of the Christian message is to walk those difficult journeys with people, to be able to be willing to go down into this and to not let people be alone.
Billy, that's beautiful. All right.
Well, it is what we're about.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's get back to her here.
Was in need of this kind of taming. It caused an incredible amount of damage, and it wiped out entire populations of people. It erased so much of our culture and just cut the roots of this continent, of where we came from and who was here before we got here. And Manifest Destiny didn't just shape expansion policies of that time. It actually fueled the romanticization
You got it.
romanticization of cowboy culture.
Cowboy
which
culture.
is where the cowboy became like this symbol of like rugged.
This is kind of like where we head, right? This cowboy culture, and it affects the church too, don't it?
Tough American masculinity.
It certainly has
as time went on, and a lot of people kind of prior to the mid-century and into the mid-century looked back at these cowboys as the perfect symbol of their rugged American hero. And
Bubba.
this ended up kind of blending with the.
What's that, Billy?
So you know who it is today? The cowboy culture, the romanticization. See, now I can't say it. The romanticization.
Do it again, Billy.
I still can't.
Do it for Christy.
The romanticization of a group of people that have really latched onto predominantly the Christian right are bikers and truckers. There are biker churches and trucker churches and the people that are doing like if you go out to the truck stop near you, There's a like a little chapel out there in the back that's somebody's trailer or whatever, and they may travel around some, but it's very fundamentalist theology that's being taught.
Right.
Christian nationalism is very much a part of that.
So these trucks, well, hold on. I will say it's sort of genius. I can't
Meet them where they are.
I can't be mad about knowing where your market is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we're here online trying to talk to folks, so we're trying to find our market, I guess.
That's right. Well, it's that same for the bikers. It's that same love for bikers as we have for the cowboys of the, look at the television shows and stuff that are biker related. It's cowboy movies.
It is true. I mean, I guess they call them the steel horse for a reason.
Right. Exactly.
I've had many wonderful biker friends over the years. And
nothing wrong with my brother's one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Bubba?
His wife owns a Jeep, though.
Bubba, do you know any fake John Wayne tough folk? We'll see if he answers.
Christian beliefs to create
Fake
this
John Wayne folk.
This very like masculine cowboy identity. And
Bubba, here's the thing about bikers and truckers. There are certain groups, and they just have their own motivations, I think, right? Wouldn't you agree, Billy? I mean, yeah, you're going to get those ones that are getting the fundamentalist, teachings, right, at the truck stops. But I've seen bikers and truckers group together and stand up for very honorable things before as well. So,
yes, I agree with that too.
So I don't know. I think it's just easy for people to get caught up in something sometimes, and
I think what I was referring to more was just the romanticization of some sort of tough guy idea. Is this? Yeah,
I'm responding to
image
on Facebook. Bubba Husky, he asked a question about how many as a counterpoint, how many bikers and truckers do y'all think attend the church at Planned Parenthood, right? Well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be going to Planned Parenthood all that much, but I have seen instances of, like bikers and truckers, standing up for a cause that you wouldn't expect at times. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, a good example of that. You remember that church out in the middle of the country? I don't want to say Kansas or sure. The something Borough Baptist Church.
Oh, Westboro.
Westboro. Thank you.
The God hates F words people.
Yeah, exactly. There are numerous stories. One I know in New Jersey that a storyteller tells. So I know she may have, storytellers lie. So, but I think she was really pushing this truth. Bike came to put themselves between the Westboro Baptist Church people and the people they were in the middle of a funeral procession,
right?
And they kept them at bay.
And I have seen, seen them do things like this before, right?
And they have done that a number of times in a number of places, absolutely. And of course, they support fire departments and do amazing things sometimes.
Right. The worst people on earth may be the Westboro Baptist Church people. They're in the run. They're in the running. They're certainly
not helping the Christian cause.
We are. Yeah, they are not helping. You guys. They're helping the atheist cause for sure.
They sure are.
If the atheists have a cause, we just we don't really have a cause, man.
Yes, I would agree.
I mean, there are some people that get together, I guess, and maybe have a cause. But anyway.
Oh, Ron Reagan has his group.
What's that, Ron Reagan?
Ron Reagan has his group.
Yeah.
Promotes.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
And it's funny because in the Victorian era of Christianity, before it kind of moved over to the United States, Christianity was kind of a lot softer and gentler. It was more artistic and expressive. If you look back at the writings and the hymns of that time, they were very soft and gentle. But as the culture kind of evolved within America, the soft, gentle idea of a man, of a Christian man, was just not appealing.
Hold on. Bubba got me one in chat here. I'm sorry to interrupt, Miss Christie, but he said it's people that meet and worship at the rubble where Knoxville's Planned Parenthood was razed to the ground. Are those people...
Oh.
Are those people...
Yeah, so Bubba, let me ask this. There was a period about 4 or 5 years ago where there was I think it was a part of the police department. It was a sheriff or a police department deputy, officer, who was preaching at a church there across the street from where the Planned Parenthood was. That he was just all kinds of hateful things especially about gay folks, but also.
I didn't know this. I didn't know. I remember. I don't know anything about the area around that Planned
So
Parenthood.
it would have been. I'm thinking now it would have probably been right. It probably would have been before COVID. So it would have been 2018, 2019, somewhere in that range. And I remember one day, my wife and I were on at Market Square, just hanging out one day, and I got a call from somebody in my church that there was we needed to help a lady move out of her house, and the daughter had come and things were not daughter, is that she didn't have any kids. Anyway, long story there. I needed to get back to help clean out and get this lady into a safe place. And so we were leaving the square in downtown Knoxville, and we drove down, and if you follow this route, you'd think, well, what an idiot. But I was trying to avoid some traffic. And we drove right by the place where the Pride celebration was going on. There was like a whole fair of,
2018,
down by
2019?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been, I'm pretty sure the Civic Coliseum area, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, down by the Civic Coliseum.
I mean, I guess
And
the parade
I remember
probably
driving by
marched
there. Yeah, well, I remember driving by there, and all I saw was joy. All I saw was people having a good time. I saw people passionate about, celebrating their identity and who they were.
Right.
And then in the out home, I kind of got lost. I always lost when I go that side of Knoxville, and I ended up routing back to passing the road right there by the Planned Parenthood building and seeing that church where that guy had been spouting all this hate stuff that was put on YouTube and all that stuff. And I just remembered thinking, would I rather be a part of? I'd much rather be a part of the folks that were celebrating who they were than the guy who was hating on everybody. And it just really spoke to me that juxtaposition of seeing this is what we can choose to be a part of, one or the other. And I don't want to be a part of what that guy was a part of.
And this was the guy that maybe I've missed the connection.
He was in the police department. He was getting fired from the police department in part because of stuff he had said that was racial, racist.
What was his involvement with the church across the street from the Planned Parenthood?
He was actually preaching in that church.
He was the preacher at that church.
Yeah, it's a little tiny.
Oh boy, Dara has asked about Greg Locke in Lebanon, Tennessee. Gosh, I have a lot of hateful words to say about Greg Locke. But again, I have a hard time practicing empathy with that guy. Do you know about Greg Locke, Billy?
I'm not familiar with that one. No.
All right, I'm gonna pull a a little bit of a. We can finish with Christy. She's almost done anyway.
He's a lovely looking fella.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Greg Locke here. This is a church in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Global Vision Bible Church.
Yeah. Let's see. See now, these are this is the stuff that's like the I guess because
and he has
this YouTube account. This is interesting because this YouTube account, well, no, this is mine. So you would think maybe we should just
he
do
has
like
a million, almost 2 million followers.
Can you hear this when I?
You see, here's what the left does. If they
Yes.
can't kill your baby in the womb, they'll starve them to death later on after they've been born. Now, I'm going to say something right now going to make about maybe 10 of you mad. But I don't care if it makes all of you mad. We'll start over next week.
Of course not.
You know, the Bible talks about church discipline, right? About kicking folks out that cause trouble. I'm almost going to say I'm about to the place. I am to the place. I'm to the place right now. If you vote Democrat, I don't even want you around this church. You can get out. You can get out, you demon. You can get out, you baby butchering election thief. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. I don't care how mad that makes you. You get pissed off as you want to. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. They are God-denying demons that butcher babies and hate this nation.
Chicken Express.
Yeah, none of that's true, but
Right. So I guess
yeah, it was interesting to me. He said if they can't kill it in the womb, they're going to starve it when it comes out. I'm like, now wait a second, you're taking away food stamps. The ones who are taking away the programs that help the poor are not the liberals. It's
right.
We're the ones saying once the baby's here, we want in the womb, we want to take care of the baby. We want health care for the mother. We want it's astonishing that people believe that crap and call it Christian. It's just hateful, and his rhetoric was hateful, and to call people demons is just not.
You want to see some more fun stuff from Greg Locke? Let's do that. Let's just have some fun. Let's Greg Locke. Let's do this one.
Witches.
Yeah.
We got first.
First off,
and last
I just
names.
want to say, could you imagine doing this at your church? Like
6 witches that
No.
are in our church. And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now. Three of you in the room
What
right
the hell
now.
was that?
he loves himself.
You better look in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witch. You devil-worshiping Satanist witch. We cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ. We break your spells. We break your curse. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you. You so much as cough wrong, and I'll expose you in front of everybody in this tent, you stinking witch. You were sent to this church to destroy us. You were sent to this church to lure us in. You were sent to this church to cast spell. Listen, some of you been sick because you befriended
bought
that
his
witch.
clothes?
2 of you in my...
His what?
I said, who bought his clothes?
I mean, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what this is. I mean, it's just some cross.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Looks like a Titan thing.
yeah, well, from what I know, his church is outdoors.
Oh, so he's wearing a jacket.
It's one of them things where he's preached so much hate that enough people came. You preach it, they will come.
Yeah. Apparently.
ladies' Bible study, and
So
you
they're
know
in a
who you
carny
are,
tent
and
now.
we gonna ask you to get out, or I'll expose you in front of everybody. We got all 6 of their names. All 6 of them.
I love the
them had
idea
already
of
been
pastors
confirmed for that
taking
thing every-
names and
Could you imagine? Like, I'm trying to think, like of our days, my days back at Trinity United Methodist Church, and they're doing the opening, You know, like they're doing
Yeah.
the concerns,
prelude.
the concerns, and people
Oh,
are
yeah.
standing up, you know, talking about, you know, their mom is in the hospital and they need some prayers. Man, this dude's like,
Yeah.
I got your names and you're demon witches, like, and you're here today.
And we have your first name, your last name, your phone number, and we have your address. That's a threat. You know, that's what that is.
But I mean, this is like 2 hours down the road from me.
Yeah.
2.5, Lebanon.
It's all that altitude up on the plateau.
Oh yeah, it's the altitude.
Freedom said it.
I mean, it's just sad.
It is.
First and last name. This chick is new to our church and don't know none of you. So you got a choice.
This chick is.
You can leave with your spells
Yeah,
all
it's-
by yourself.
with your spells.
I
Spells.
love the altar. That's, you know, the altar is. I mean, the pulpit is a twisted wood. You know.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Somebody made that for him, I'm sure.
Or I'll show up
Yeah.
next Sunday with a stage full of brooms. And I'll give you one and I'll fly your tail up out of this place in the name of Jesus. But we ain't playing your spell casting, witchcraft, nonsense, sage burning games. Everybody okay?
So, you know, the question is, do you actually believe this crap?
I don't know, man. See, like, that's the thing.
Is it
That's
just stirring people up?
So this is the hardest thing to know, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I know that there are certain politicians that we see, especially on the national scale, that you know darn well they don't believe some of the, and I'm not just talking about their religious stuff, but their political stuff. You know darn well they don't believe that Russia did not attack Ukraine, but Ukraine in fact started the war. That they don't believe that crap, but they're going to now pronounce it that way.
Why has that happened? How is that? Like, of all...
I can't even. I watched, you know, Marco Rubio. I just saw a video of him.
Like,
Back
so
when the war started.
some lies are that Trump says are very egregious. Like, they're just like, that's an obvious lie.
Right.
This one is beyond the pale. I almost can, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, but I almost can. I can't, but I almost can. The people that deny the election, you know, from 2020.
Right.
I
They can believe this
I
will
can
lie and that will lie,
almost,
and it all adds up.
I can almost get behind understanding why you have that conspiracy theory. Right?
Yeah.
I can almost get behind that. And I can also, like, understand about, like, your background and why your social circumstance may bring you to the conclusions you've come to, right? As hateful and wrong as they are, right? When it comes to Donald Trump. But when it comes to, like, this particular lie,
You know, we watched during the Olympics. Everybody was watching the Olympics, and we kept seeing stories about Putin amassing arms.
yeah,
And then when it finally happened on my sister's birthday, I might add, when it finally happened that he started to do this, we remember the news. No matter what channel you were watching, no matter what news source you had, they were showing, here's what's going on in Ukraine, and know who started it. There's no.
yeah. It's like they expect us to have the shortest term memory, and
Yeah.
they feel like that they can just say it enough to make it so.
And when so in our churches, when we do the prayer time, as you were talking about earlier, for all of this time, people will occasionally, now early on, it was almost always, every Sunday, somebody would say, let's remember the people of Ukraine because they've been attacked. Let's remember the people of Ukraine. Let's remember Ukraine. Nobody said remember Russia. They said, let's remember Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't
There's
like
confusion.
it wasn't like your prayer service was, I'd like to say a prayer for Russia. We believe that they're dangerously close to becoming a NATO member, and that makes Russia very uncomfortable, and therefore we'd like to send a prayer.
Right. And just to be clear, when that happened, I was in a place that was one of the most Republican places
Yeah.
I've ever lived.
Right.
With the most conservative churches I've ever served, they were absolutely standing up for Ukraine. And
now,
yeah,
are those same people doing the same, or are they
yeah,
America first?
and I
We can't be sending 360 billion over there when it was 110.
That's right.
And it was a bunch of other things too, like involved with the deal. And that's
now it's we could have opened I-40 already if we didn't spend money on Ukraine.
It's I-40. The Ukraine war has really flummoxed the folks getting I-40 up and running.
Yeah. They don't understand nearing, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. All right. I feel like maybe we should get off Greg Locke. He's a piece of shit.
You said it.
I'm an atheist, and I will say he's a piece of shit. And he's going to call me a demon because I don't believe the way he does, and that's fine, I guess.
He's already called me a demon too, because liberal.
Yeah, you're also a demon, Billy. You're of the.
Right.
In fact, just change your church in Bluefield. Tell the Holston folks that you have moved into the Satan worshiping.
It's now a demonic church.
Yeah, it's demonic. We're doing that now. We're just gonna,
So I've seen documentaries on Satanism, and they talk about more love than this guy.
Oh, dude, listen, we should probably do that one day. There is it's the current guy. I can't even remember his name, but it's the people that put the statue of Baphomet on the Arkansas church. Yeah. Listen, that will be a controversial episode where we go through the Satanist commandments and compare them. I don't know if you'll have a controversial take, I'm sure, but yeah, it's very much stuff you can get down with, like treat everybody equally. We prefer science to, extract the knowledge that we need to learn about a subject. Like these are like the commandments, or stuff like that.
Pretty reasonable things, right? Yeah.
Very reasonable things. But like if you've kept up with those folks, they also call themselves humanists, right? So yeah,
which might be a little more palatable. But yeah, I hear that.
Right, but the fun part is that will still get associated with the Satan part, and the more crazy religious people be like, "You humanist." All right,
humanist global.
Where's Christy? There she is, Christy Burke.
I want to buy your house. I can.
Hey, this guy wants to buy your house. That's right.
I don't own it.
Leaves to create.
All right, let's get through Christy Burke. Then we'll maybe continue the discussion a little bit while we're kicking the ball around in Rocket League, and then we'll call it a Monday night.
By the way, one little thing. She mentioned George Washington earlier, and was talking about an Episcopalian.
Mm-hmm.
And else major general in the Americas was also an Episcopalian. General Robert E. Lee was an Episcopalian.
Okay.
Apparently quite a devout one. There's a church a tenth of a mile down from me that's between me and my church that had the Robert E. Lee pulpit in it. They closed the church, and so they took the pulpit to some museum or something like that. But he was a lay speaker, and he would go around and speak in Episcopalian churches. For what's that's worth. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Thanks for the interesting trivia. There was another thing I meant to comment on earlier that she said about overthrowing the government. And I had a note here that and I was like, I don't know if anybody knows this, but when they were specifically talking about England in that, you do not have the right to overthrow the government.
That's a good point. That is what they were talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So I think she read it in a way as like, if they don't, you can overthrow the government. No, they're specifically they're specifically speaking of England, not your little militia. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good point.
Yeah. Bubba, I don't know if that was Marty or not buying your house, but yes, the Pilford pulpit, that thing was taken. I don't know. There's probably some story behind it, you know, with those specific branches. All right, Christy Burke.
Create this very like masculine cowboy identity. And it's funny because in the Victorian era of Christianity, before it kind of moved over to the United States, Christianity was kind of a lot softer and gentler. It was more artistic and expressive. If you look back at the writings and the hymns of that time, they were very soft and gentle. But as the culture kind of evolved within America, the soft, gentle idea of a man, of a Christian man, was just not appealing. And instead, Americans really loved this picture of rough and rugged masculinity. And because they were Christians, they had to figure out a way to kind of justify that, to blend those two together. But the truth is, this rugged masculine idol was the main contributor to an extreme amount of violence and colonialism. I'm not seeing genuine love and peace and hope and a relationship with Jesus in any of this. If we look at from the founding fathers, who weren't really Christians themselves, some of them were, some of them weren't, utilizing Christianity as a tool for power and dominance, not for encouraging genuine spiritual practice. You would think that maybe things just faded out after that. But then you have the westward expansion where, you know, you have these groups of people that believe it is their mission to spread the Christian message and to force everyone else on the continent to adhere to their way of life.
That's called fascism.
To get in line. Be a Christian. Be a white Christian. Our way is the best way.
And give us your land.
And you
That's
must fall
also
in line or we will wipe you out. That was the message and that was the goal. And they did it. But a lot of people might think that's where it ended. You know, maybe yes, we have a lot of violence and colonialism and some really icky stuff in the history of Christianity in America. But, you know, that's just kind of how things are.
These are powerful images right here, right?
Yeah, they are.
Like, I often wonder how folks don't know who they stand next to sometimes.
You know, I heard I think it was a comedian said just this week, the statement was, I long for the times when people wore hoods. Pointing out that
you're gonna have to give me a little more context than that, man. If the comedian's just like, but they're not, I just wish there was some KKK around. You got to go a little further, Billy.
She was saying, I long for the days when they had to go into hiding, but now they're out there. And they're the white nationalists, the white,
right.
All of that. They're wearing suits and in public view.
It's the ones you don't know about. I get,
House.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's there's a lot of ways to hide it. I would make the argument that many of these people are using their religion as their robe and their hood to cover up their face, their true face.
Actually, I wouldn't argue with that.
Perhaps we've progressed beyond that. But in the next episode, I'm going to showcase how this attitude of white Christian way of life,
we don't want to know, do we, Dara?
Being the best way, has persisted all throughout history and has never died down.
Dara, not only do we not want to know it's our neighbors, man, we do, like, so much of our society just wants to, like, I just feel like they want to find a way to be okay with it. Like, let alone just not know. You know, like, justifications.
Yeah, I think the comedian was making the point that I wish they felt the need to be in hiding. But now it's okay to say the racist stuff,
or at least a I don't know a nerfed version of it. You know, you still can't just like out and out be racist, right? Are we to the point where it's like we're back to that now? Is it okay?
We're well beyond David Duke these days. I mean, there are people working in the White House who are openly racist. There are people who are openly white supremacists who are getting on national news television without hiding any.
I mean, I'm
saying,
sure.
No, this is what we.
I'm sure David Duke is tickled pink with how things are going.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Is
David Duke, is he still alive? I don't know. I've not, I was hoping the reason I haven't heard about David Duke in a while is because maybe he did die.
Yeah, I think he did, but I'm not sure. Either that or he's so old that
That it doesn't. He's insignificant.
But you got to give Bubba's right. Modern racist grandfather knew about cancel culture, hence the masks.
Yeah, I mean, that was the cancel culture back then. So David Duke, still alive, unfortunately. Born in 1950.
So back when I was in seminary, my ethics professor spent a lot of time talking about David Duke and Louisiana politics because there was a lot to talk about among ethics.
Yeah. So you went through those discussions. Yeah, Stephen Miller.
Yeah, we had discussions.
Stephen Miller is,
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
I just didn't say his name.
Yeah, he's the one that would be the first most hateful person. I mean, I don't know. They've got a lot of them, but Stephen Miller's probably the first one. Let's see what Dara's saying. So I'm going to read this whole paragraph that Dara decided to write on our chat. Eli is her son. Had a friend, was a super nice kid, went to his birthday party and everything, super nice people. Then the mom friend requested me and I saw she posted nothing but Global Vision Church stuff. Yeah, man. See, so like, I guess in this way, you at least you get to peek under the hood a little bit though, right, Dara?
No, he's not allowed there anymore.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you got a chance. You did,
Yeah. Well, she was probably the witch he was talking about.
Probably, that's right. That friend was with the witch.
No, Dara didn't go and find out because.
All right, let's finish this video. I keep getting distracted by
it's just
she's right about it.
In the mid-century, you had figures like Billy Graham and the moral majority kind of rising up, this religious right that finally gained a voice and a way to get that voice out to millions of people. And we're going to examine in the next episode how desegregation was actually the spark that ignited the mobilization of the right-wing Christian evangelical movement. The rhetoric that was born in this time, this mid-century of the rise of the evangelical right, I believe that rhetoric has persisted today, and that people are still kind of parroting the same things that were brought up at that time under the guise of conservative politics, just traditional values. And I believe that this rhetoric and these strategies have left a lasting stain on our country. We're going to talk about Billy Graham. We're going to talk about Jerry Falwell, the moral majority, the Heritage Foundation, which still persists today. And
all right, so I've got it right here. I forgot to pull it off my phone, but this was a good time to talk about the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025.
Yeah. So I shared this with my secretary today, and she was like, "Well, that just can't be true." And then was telling her, "Well, Luke shared with me this video of this young woman who had a lot of followers, and she was talking about how women vote because they're not smart enough." And I don't remember her name. And my secretary said, "Does she have dark brown hair?" And I said, "Yeah, she does." I said, "She's got millions of followers." And she knew exactly who I was talking about.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And I guess she'd been on Fox News or something.
Well, that girl's actually, she's so hateful that you have to like find her these days. Like that's
good to know.
her shtick is a bit of outrage bait. I think I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But like when you see her husband with,
Yeah.
we're talking about Luke Beasley and what is her name? Little hateful lady.
She was, and the secretary knew who that was, and that kind of put some light on. I read to her what I was telling her about what you're about to show.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm about to show it, but I'm about to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Page 432, Financial and Social Order Framework. So Section 1, Gender-Based Financial Governance. All financial accounts will be restructured to prioritize the head of the household, in parentheses, traditionally male, as the primary account holder, right? Yeah, good old what's her face. I can look her up real quick. Let's see.
Financial assets will be, while you're doing that, financial assets will be transferred to their legal male guardian, husband,
yes.
father, or next of kin to reinforce familial stability. No, to reinforce domestic violence. What that will reinforce.
Women were so swayed by this.
Whoa, that was her. That's her. Sorry.
I didn't do that.
I did that. Let's see. Who is this? This is Isabella Moody. That's her name. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's who that is. Yeah, so Project 2025. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and independent access to credit and loans. My mother was one of the first people that the credit union that we're part of actually gave a loan to without her husband's signature.
Right.
Because my parents got divorced in 1980.
Like they
We're
want
not
to go
talking
back
about
to
1960.
They want to go back to that kind of suffering for women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that kind of dominance and control over women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Workplace protections, maternity leave, pay equality, laws, all of that would be reevaluated. Meaning,
what do you mean by reevaluate? It's not like the U.S. has like this robust maternity leave program.
That's right. Which means they're going to do away with it entirely. Of course. Hiring practice will be adjusted to prioritize family stability, encourage married women to focus on domestic responsibility.
That's right. Get in the kitchen, Dara.
It means you got to get a job.
You know what? That's right. I've got to get a real job. No,
You can't be no musician.
That's right. I can't be. We got to switch it. We got to put Jessica as the musician. And
Yeah. Does she bust?
Does she what? Does she bust?
Bust?
Well, I guess she's gonna have to try. We need to pay some bills.
Get her out at Market Square. And
Because I'm gonna get because if we switch jobs, I'm gonna get fired from Allstate pretty quick.
And
right,
women's eligibility for unemployment benefits and Title A will be contingent on their marital status.
Yeah, it's just
it
archaic.
goes on and on.
Yeah, it's just archaic. Like take women back to the 30s, 40s. Where they're just completely reliant.
Reducing
and this is
funding.
And this is the Heritage Foundation. This is Project 2025. This is the stuff that Trump said he had nothing to do with, but he is. I mean, they're doing it. They're doing
But
everything.
the guy who wrote it is in charge of the OMB. He's on firing all.
Yeah, the guy. What was his name? Vaught, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He was head architect of this crap.
Yeah, I mean that's what.
Again.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, Dara. We were talking about how in Project 2025, like they want to go back to that, right?
Yeah, so the United Methodist Church just had a big split, and the big split was the other side, the ones that left, the fundamentalists. They like to call themselves traditionalists. That was the word they tried. And they're trying to use the word traditionalist to mean because they don't call it fundamentalist, because that's not really a positive word.
I mean, I think you could you could probably say you could probably even say that conservative is a whitewashing of what somebody's intentions are when they say they're political. Like, I'm conservative. What are you conserving?
Yeah, which just means usually just means you want to keep the status quo, but they're not wanting to keep the status quo. They're wanting to go
No,
back to
the status quo has moved on for years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Roe v. Wade would have been the status quo at this point, right? You know.
That's right.
United Methodist and oxymoron is. Hey, Billy, Bubba wants to know if United Methodist is an oxymoron.
No, we're more united now because the people that were opposed to us all along left.
Okay. I mean, they did have. How'd you know about that, Bubba? I mean, there was a big rift not too long ago.
Yeah. So first off, the word united comes from the Evangelical United Brethren Church, which was the church that merged with the Methodist Church in 1958. So.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was just like words that people said. It wasn't. So there was a
no.
Okay, so there was a united something or other.
The Evangelical United Brethren, EUB, and the U was the United. So when the Methodist Church and the EUB joined together, we became the United Methodist Church.
That's interesting.
And this recent split, which has taken a lot from us as well. And the recent split was because they got everything they wanted, and then the delegates that were being elected to serve at the next general conference were overwhelmingly being liberal and moderate folks, and the conservative fundamentalist groups were having a hard time even getting any delegates, and they saw the writing on the wall, so they started another denomination.
What is that one now?
It's the Global Methodist Church.
Oh, it's one of them globals.
Globals, yeah. Ironically, they're opposed to globalism.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure they're opposed to globalism. Those folks killed Jesus, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
the globalists.
Yeah, the globalists.
And so my point was, so when we vote to allow the churches that wanted to leave at our annual at our special called session of our annual conference, they were allowed to leave after the session was over, and then we had another. Everybody take a 15-minute break and let's come back together. The tone and the attitude and the everything just changed. There was less tension. There was a lot more. Hey, maybe we can move forward now. And,
hey man, in 2020, I started talking a lot of shit, so I could purge a bunch of the people out of my Facebook page. Is that the same thing?
Well, maybe, I don't know. But they said we claimed that we weren't Christian, that we weren't following the Bible.
Sure.
But, I heard all that same stuff that you get called. I get called that.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
It is.
Because I mean, it's there, right? The words are there, right? That you can look at the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the crazy. So at that point, you have to say, okay, there's some crazy stuff in here. And then you have to start cherry picking. It's the only sane thing to do with the Bible. Cherry pick. And to me,
no matter which side you're on.
Yeah, no matter what side you're on. But what you cherry pick tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah, I agree. And it also tells me something about why you're picking.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe not like the total story, but No,
absolutely not. But
yeah.
But I can see that I'm motivated by fear, so I'm going to cherry pick all the things that talk about all the people I hate.
I mean, fear
is I'm motivated by. Go ahead.
Fear is what this side of Christianity sells. Like that's the product, right?
Yeah, it's also what the Republican Party's selling these days.
Well, they merged.
They did.
We already said that, that was purposeful. Yeah. They may not believe us,
But the love says the scripture, 1 John says love casts out fear.
But it don't. What I'm saying,
Well,
yes, it
the argument,
should. It should. It should. Like these are beautiful words, but it don't.
so you have to understand that the reason he was writing that letter was because there was a group of folks in the church
Oh,
that were
don't give
trying to
Billy
go
the
a
big
different
head, bro.
direction. But the folks in the church were trying to go a different direction, and they were not following some of the teachings that John had been professing. And he's saying, if you want to, if they're motivating you by fear, that's not the way that God would do it. So love casts out fear. Perfect love is what we're searching for.
Right.
The last part was my words.
Well, we'll take some of your words too. You can mix them in, Billy.
Dara's allowed to like me.
Dara is allowed to like you. Dara, Billy was back in 2020 when I was really in my most prolific talking shit to conservatives and hateful folk. I messaged Billy and said, Billy, I need your help. And Billy was busy.
Yeah.
So this time around, after the election, I contacted Billy again because I knew Billy was the one that would be perfect for this project. And yeah, we're going to add some other folks too eventually, Billy. I haven't told you this part of my plan, but I have, obviously, this is the Billy show, but I have some other friends that went to seminary and did things and decided maybe not to be a pastor fully after they went to seminary. And I have some people like that I want to, have discussions with people that grew up in the church and have some confusion about it. Maybe we'll do some we'll just talk it out. We'll have these kind of things. So
yeah, I think that's, for me, that's what it's always been about as a Methodist, is that a place that's safe to have conversation and ask questions and question your own journey.
Sure, because I mean, it is a journey, right? And golly, man, you can't be. I mean, we all need a little friendly, maybe just some pushes in directions. Even I don't know how to say this best. But that's the idea. The hope behind this whole project is to help people, reconcile with, some of the more hateful aspects of society and figure out a way to find empathy again. And, if, for me, I don't care how you get there. I don't care if it's through the church. I'm an atheist, don't care. I want you to find the best way for you. Right. But
I want you to know, today in my Bible study, you made this interesting. There was some folks in there that said, "Do you know there's people that can love who don't even believe there is God? There's people who can love that don't know God."
Somebody said this, like, "Hey, did you know?"
No, I think the reason they were saying is there was another person in the Bible study whose husband 2 weeks ago had said, all atheists hate Christians. All atheists hate God. They hate everything. There's no way they can love anybody.
Yeah,
that's just BS.
It's know.
And it goes to what she was saying, is that the wealthy were saying the lesser people have to have this book to have any moral compass at all.
Right. And that's what Benjamin Franklin was saying. He was saying that they needed guidance. And listen, I think people need guidance. That's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
No doubt about it.
And I think that you can get it, believe it or not, I think you can get it from the church, But this day and age, there's a lot of Greg Locke churches out there, right? And
and way too many.
And they're the popular ones. Like they have, the whole reason to create a space like this and to talk about it with people is be like, hey, man, you need to get off that hateful shit. Please get off that hateful shit.
Yeah. That's right.
That's really all it comes down to. Are you a former Catholic, Dara? I didn't know that about you. Well, anyway,
she's very kind though.
yeah. Let's. I think she's got a couple more words, and she's just kind of finishing out. When she gets to the part where she's like, "Subscribe," because they all do that at the end of YouTube videos, you know.
It's a natural knee jerk reaction, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm actually going to say, hey, let's skip the gaming portion. This may end up being the way it goes. I do want to play some Rocket League with you, though, Billy.
Just to prove how bad I am.
Oh, you had 8 years of Catholic school. That explains everything about you, Dara. I know things.
She's knowledgeable.
She is knowledgeable.
And knows about discipline.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let me follow us. Yeah, do that. Follow us on I have a page on Facebook now. Where you can follow and be a part of the community. You can follow on YouTube and on Twitch. And come hang out with us on Monday nights. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do Monday 10 to 12. And it's not always going to be this heavy, I don't think. But, I mean, we live in heavy times.
We do.
So, does public school in East Tennessee count as Christian school? No. But it's not far from it, I bet, in some areas. You know, I'm sure there's plenty. I'm sure there's plenty of public schools in more rural areas that might as well be a Christian school.
So just to be clear, the people that were opposing prayer in school to begin was the Roman Catholic Church. And the reason was because their kids were getting sent to school and being taught from the Baptist kids, student teachers or other Protestant teachers, that all the stuff the Catholic Church was teaching them wrong. And it's not school's position or place to be teaching religion.
You're intrigued by
Bill Lee doesn't agree.
Sorry, you want Billy to explain what the Universalist Unitarians are?
Wow, that's
everything and nothing.
Yeah. So here's what I can tell you on that, Dara. I've known some Unitarians. And they're very passionate people about social justice, and they definitely, as a denomination, so to speak, they really do focus on that. I think each individual congregation of Unitarian are more Christian based and will preach from the Bible, and this will use all kinds of literature, not even quote scripture literature, to be what they're preaching that day.
Right.
The first Unitarian church I ever attended, the whole sermon was about a poem on apples.
What did you get out of that?
Well, I got out of it that my friend who was a history major was taking a class or something, and he wanted to go to this before he joined the Methodist Church.
This is back in like the 80s?
Yeah, this was in the 80s. This is before I met you, actually.
Yeah, so I thought Universalist Unitarians were like maybe a 2000s creation.
Oh, no, they've been around a while.
Oh, wait, no, that's not true, because I remember having friends that's mom worked there in the 90s. But that was a new church in Oak Ridge. But that would be my stupid little experience where it's like, oh, there's a new church in Oak Ridge. That must mean it's a new.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now they've moved down the road. So, but I think there's a lot of.
Oh yeah, Kroger gave them a sweet deal on Oak Ridge.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
But it was in my experience there's just a very different feel to the other. When I was in Norris, we had a group that did the Messiah, and the lady who led the Messiah, the choir director, was actually from the Latter-day Saints church is, of course, the Mormon church.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, nobody will come to the Mormon church who's not Mormon, so we're going to want to do it somewhere else.
They
And
also
so
may not let you in,
That's right. There's
depending
that
on
too.
depending on the area.
That's and so so we held it in Norris, but then they also held it somewhere else, usually in Oak Ridge. And that the last time I remember it was at a Unitarian church in their new building. I also remember it was pouring down rain and I've actually been in that building a few times now for different reasons. But I think that the focus there is that they believe you just need to have a spiritual experience in some way. I couldn't speak to really what they profess, who they are. I would hazard a guess that you do to Bing it.
Bing it.
Oh, that means Google. Bing, Microsoft thing.
Yeah, that's right. You're a Microsoft honk. I forgot about that. Now,
I Bing. I get all. Yeah, they pay for my Starbucks coffee.
Bing does?
Yes.
I
I
didn't
get
know.
$25 gift cards once in a while from Bing.
From Bing. Well,
Yes.
All right.
Google doesn't do that for you, do they?
Well, Google, they're all out to get you your information anyway, Billy. Let's just put it that
That's
way.
right. Well, Microsoft is better than that.
Yes, Microsoft is so much better. All right. Well, I think I don't know. Let's finish this video and then let's say thanks to the chatters and I'm scrolling back up to the part where the chat. Eventually I got to scroll back up to the chat and see where that guy was talking about the omnibars and just have a good laugh about that. Oh, Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves is the one, right?
Ask
You
Jeeves,
can
that's
trust
right.
Jeeves. Old Jeeves. Speaking of
I think we need to just ask Bubba.
I mean, Bubba, listen. What I want to do, Bubba, is I want to make an AI from your brain. And I don't want to call it Copilot. We should call
That's
it.
good.
We should call it. I mean, I guess we could just call it Co-Bubba.
Co-Bubba. Yeah.
Co-Bubba. No, Ask Bubba. Just Ask Bubba. Right?
Ask Bubba sounds better, yeah.
Ask Bubba.
Because that has all kinds of connotations to it.
Yeah, that's right. Bubba, we're asking.
By the way, I didn't realize you kept saying Tim, and I didn't know who Tim was until I finally was able to zoom in on the
Oh yeah, it's Tim
chat.
Stewksbury.
Yeah.
Tim Stewksbury. He taught me how to run sound back in the day.
So I asked the pastor, Bob, who was there when I was there, and he said, so who do you think has the best attendance at church? And I said, well, you do, Bob. No, I have to go on vacation occasionally. And so he said, the guy who has the best attendance at church is absolutely, without a doubt, Tim Stewksbury. And it was because he was running sound every Sunday.
Yeah.
In his camo pants, his
Right.
Chicago Cubs plastic helmet.
I was the answer to his toiling as the guy sitting back there in the back when he needed a day off. I eventually became the guy who ran it. I think you were gone by then.
Oh yeah.
And then I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then my dad ran it because he had to. He was the only one left.
They were down to 60
But hey,
people total.
that was my first experience with a soundboard, and
Yeah.
Tim very much had a particular way that he wanted.
That's what you call it, codependent.
Yeah, codependent. That's right, not co-pilot, codependent.
I like that.
Yeah, but you're probably learning some things. Both Bubba and Dara are very witty people.
I like that.
Yeah. I try to collect these people. I married one.
Oh, she's a fan of yours too, by the way.
She's out of my league, though. I don't know how that happened. All right. Finish the video.
And you might have heard it. You might have heard Project
There he
2025
is,
circling
Vaught.
around, and there's a lot of debate about that. We're going to talk about all of that. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell. That way you get notified when
Well, you
I
didn't
post
get
new
30
videos.
seconds in.
I've got
Yeah, that's it. That was it. We're done. So next week we're gonna do part 2, and I really am ready for part 3 already. But again, we're kind of new to this thing, and the fact that she has 3 parts, it gives us 3 weeks of material, and
Yeah.
and it probably is good to at least talk about what happened in the 70s, 60s and 70s, and 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the context of what happened, as we formed a country. And, if we're talking about if the nation is a Christian nation, and, it probably was better to get some historical
and the rise
content.
of Christian nationalism absolutely comes out of the 70s. As much as people might point to earlier,
Sure.
from the time Roe v. Wade happened, there was a coalition that started getting stronger and stronger around that issue.
Right.
And they found out that that was a good way to raise money. So.
Yeah, these are ingredients that she's telling us right now. But the part 3 that I watched was that was the part that's probably the most related to today. So we're gonna do that next Monday. But it is 11:52. No time for any Rocket League. Dara, Bubba, Jessica, my wife, and even the guy that was talking about the Omni bars. Sorry, Dara, that is past your bedtime. But we'll be doing this again next Monday, and hopefully you'll stay up past your bedtime that time too, and we can, do what we do. So, Billy,
Good to have folks.
Yeah, man, Billy, thank you for another fun week, and I've got 2 episodes to edit now and start making little clips of and figure out how TikTok works. So, I know, TikTok.
I spent another 2 hours trying to solve Zoom this week, so I understand.
Yeah, man.
It was tricky, like background noise.
The Treaty of Tripoli. Bubba is the codependent. So, all right, guys. Good night, Billy. We'll see you next week, man. We'll talk before then.
All right.
All right. See you guys.